So, what does the future of workplace learning actually look like? It's a huge question, right? Well, after the big I4PL 2025 conference, learning and development specialist Patricia Regier, who founded Regier Education Inc., posted this amazing synthesis of her takeaways on her blog and LinkedIn. She calls it a modern blueprint for L&D, and honestly, it gives us a super clear roadmap for where this entire industry is going.
What I love is how Regier framed the whole thing. She saw the conference as this moment to just pause and listen. So the ideas we're about to jump into aren't just her opinion. They're these recurring themes, these big ideas that kept bubbling up, pointing to this shared vision for the future of learning.
Okay, first up, the most fundamental pillar of this entire blueprint. It's all about the human element. Before we even talk about tech or business strategy, it all has to start with creating a learning environment that is built for, well, people.
Now check out the wording here, psychological safety. We hear this term a lot, but this definition is spot on. It's an environment of rewarded vulnerability. That's the key. It's not just about being nice, it's the non-negotiable bedrock. Because think about it, if people don't feel safe enough to ask what they think is a dumb question, or to try something and maybe fail, then real deep learning, it just doesn't happen. Trust is everything. And this is how you actually build that safety. See, it's not some abstract fuzzy feeling, it's a direct result of smart, intentional design. Things like offering multiple ways to participate, providing captions, even just giving people quiet time to reflect. These aren't just little add-ons. They're the literal architecture of a safe and inclusive learning space. The other huge piece of this human-first puzzle is this big shift in language. For, decades, we've talked about soft skills. But that word soft, it kind of makes them sound optional, right? Like a nice to have. The new reality? We're calling them power skills because they are absolutely essential. They are the drivers of performance in today's world. And these are the skills we're talking about: adaptability, collaboration, discernment, and critical thinking. In a world that is just overflowing with information and AI, these skills aren't just helpful. They are the very things that allow us to cut through the noise and make smart decisions. Frankly, they're what separates us from the machines.
Okay, so once we've got that human foundation locked in, the next pillar is the strategic framework. This is all about making sure that our people-first efforts are tightly, and I mean tightly, integrated with the actual goals of the business.
This quote. I bet this hits home for so many people in L&D. You know the drill. L&D gets called in at the very last minute to train people on some new system that's already been built and decided on. It just becomes this reactive check-the-box exercise. And the result, as the quote says, you struggle to get any real, meaningful adoption.
So what's the fix? Well, it's pretty simple, really. L&D has to be at the table from day one. And instead of creating one single massive training event, the modern way is to build learning in these modular blocks that can actually evolve and grow right alongside the change itself. It makes learning a continuous part of the journey, not just an afterthought.
Now, a huge part of being strategic is being able to prove your value. But this statistic? Wow, it's pretty stark. The reality is, most L&D teams are still really struggling to connect what they do to actual business results. Just tracking how many people showed up to a workshop, that just doesn't cut it anymore. So here's the path forward. It's a simple but really powerful process. First, you have to define what success even looks like with the business leaders before you build a single thing. Second, you got to get a baseline. How can you know how far you've come if you don't know where you started? And third, and this might be the most important, you have to tell the story behind the data. Don't just show a chart, explain how the learning actually moved the needle on performance. Okay, so we've got our human foundation, we've got our strategic framework. Now let's talk about the cool stuff, the incredible tools that can amplify a designer's impact. And this is where things like AI and storytelling really come into play. This, right here, is maybe the single most important message about AI in our field. It is not here to replace instructional designers. It's here to make them better, faster, and way more creative. Think of AI as your superpowered partner. The designer is still the strategist, still the architect. And here's what that partnership actually looks like. Just imagine, instead of spending hours racking your brain, you use AI to instantly generate 10 super realistic customer service scenarios. Or create these incredibly detailed personas for your target audience. You can even build adaptive learning paths that actually respond to how a user is doing. It's a massive, massive creative accelerator.
But, and this is a really important but, the tool is only as good as the person using it.
The quality of the scenarios, the personas, the stories that AI spits out, it all depends entirely on the quality of the prompts you write, the critical thinking you apply, and the deep instructional design expertise that you bring to the table.
So let's bring it all together now. We've talked about that essential human foundation, the smart strategic framework, and the designer's amplifier. When you combine these three pillars, what you get is a complete blueprint for what modern learning and development looks like.
This was Patricia Regier's ultimate takeaway from the whole conference, and it's just so important. The future isn't some sci-fi story about amazing new tech. It's a story about how people, designers, learners, leaders, can collaborate more effectively, both with each other and with the incredible tools we now have. So this is really what it all boils down to. This is the goal. We're moving toward a future where workplace learning is, by its very nature, accessible to everyone, inclusive in its design, able to prove its value with real data, and most of all, deeply connected to helping people do their actual jobs better.
So there you have it, the blueprint for modern L&D. It's built on a foundation of safety, a framework of strategy, and the amplified skills of a modern designer. The only real question left is the one you see on the screen. What will you build with it?